Hello, I am Peter from Wham Bam, and I'm here to tell you about printing in ABS with our HotBox enclosure. This is the enclosure that's sized for the Ender 3 and Ender 3 size printers. It's great to be able to print in ABS. It's really a real pleasure, and it's easy to do if you have the right equipment and the right settings. So a few things you've got to know. Number one, we're using ESUN ABS. Use a quality ABS. ESUN's really decent. You want your ABS to be dried out. ABS is very hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs a lot of moisture from the atmosphere. And if you just use ABS that's been sitting out on the counter for a couple of days, you're going to get little zits and pops and all different defects. So what I do is, the night before using ABS, I put it inside of my filament dryer that I've made out of a food dryer, one of those things to make jerky and dried vegetables and fruits. So basically I've just added a cylinder in the middle here. I can give a link in my description of how I did it. I prefer to buy the ones that have the digital screen that I could put in the time and the temperature. That way I could set it for 6 hours, 10 hours and let it go overnight, and in the morning my filaments are dry. I created a taller central chamber in order for me to stack tons of rolls of filament. I think I can get like 8 rolls of filament in there if I really want to dry them out. So that's number one. Number two, you need a heated enclosure, or an enclosure that can trap the heat that's created by the bed of the machine. In this case, we're using the HotBox. I had set the machine originally for 120, 130 degrees. For about 15 minutes, I got it up to temperature, and now I backed the machine down to 110 heated bed. I've got a 45.9 degree reading on my thermostat. Anywhere between 40 and 50 is definitely your good zone. You don't want to go over 50 with your electronics inside the machine. And I'll tell you later about how we can keep from overheating the inside. There's various methods. Eventually, if you ever want to go for very high temperature, you're going to want to separate your electronics from your machine, move them to the outside, and work that way. Anyway, the next step is getting the whole thing heated up to the temperature you're going to be printing at, and doing a full leveling process. If you don't do a leveling process this way, and you've just recently used it for PLA, you have a good chance that the thermal expansion of the metal pieces inside the machine against the plastic pieces are all different, and your bed's going to be off level. So I'm going to go ahead and run it through one of my leveling processes. I'll leave a link in the description of my leveling process for the Ender 3. So I'm just going to run a print. I'm sorry. Go. And what this is going to do is it's going to stop on each point above the leveling wheels. I'll be able to test with a piece of paper the resistance and adjust my wheels until it's well leveled. We're going to speed this up so not to bore you. You can always check out the leveling process on the video in the link below. Okay, now that that has been leveled, I'm going to go ahead and set my printer to print. And for your information, I have programmed the slicer to do 2 skirt layers at an offset from the print. And I'm basically going to live level. I'm going to keep my eye on that first layer going down and make sure it's been squished down so it has a flat top and it's consistent across the whole bed. My machine settings at this point are hot end at 240 degrees. Bed 110, no fan for the first 4 layers, and then I go to about a 70% part fan. You don't want to cool the layers between print too much, or else you're going to have some separation. That first layer looks really great, so I'm going to say okay. I'm going to close this box up. Right now, our box temperature after having left it open all this time is 40.8. That's going to creep up to around 45 most of the time, and we're going to let this thing print. We'll come back in a while. Okay, the print's been going for a couple hours. It's going to keep on finishing up over the night, but you can go in and see the beauty of the detail. Those layers are bonding gorgeously. Once again, it's about a 242 hot end with a 110 bed. The enclosure is reading 48 degrees, so anywhere between 40 and 50 is great for ABS. It can actually be a little less. I might try printing with the bed at 100 degrees, but it's absolutely gorgeous. We'll come back tomorrow morning after it's finished and have a look. Okay, it's the next morning. The print took 5 hours and 22 minutes. It's completely cooled off. The enclosure is reading 26.3 degrees. That's our ambient temperature. The beauty of using your heated bed to heat the enclosure is, even if you're going to print overnight, it's going to shut down automatically. The temperature drops with your bed temperature. So the whole thing's already equalized. The temperature cut out at the end of the print. Parts cooled down. Let's have a look at it. So I'm opening up the HotBox. You can see how gorgeous this print is. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's already off. You can see the ABS when it cools. Let me put in the light. When it cools on the Wham Bam flexible build surface, it pops right off. Look at that beautiful bottom. Beautiful detail. This one was printed at 0.16 millimeters, 70 millimeters a second, quite fast. A little seam line. It's okay. It's ABS, so I could also sand and vapor smooth if I want to. But I'd say super strong between layers, obviously. The enclosure is a complete success. Was simple as pie to make it print. Enjoy.